Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into a song that, well, it just screams summer fun on the surface. Senorita, senorita. We've got the lyrics, we've got some analysis, and our goal here is to kind of peel back the layers on this one. See what's underneath that upbeat vibe.
Yeah, so our mission for you today is not just exploring why these lyrics are so, engaging, but also digging into this surprising connection. It adds a whole new angle to where this song actually came from. Okay, let's unpack this. Right off the bat, when you first hear senorita, senorita, what's the immediate feeling? It's just pure energy, isn't it? The lyrics paint this really vivid picture of someone super lively, charismatic, and that chorus, it's so repetitive, but in a good way. Senorita, senorita, she's a saucy one, senorita, senorita, makes everything fun, senorita, senorita, cools down the sun. It really hammers home her, spirited nature, almost larger than life. That triple hit really sticks.
Oh, absolutely, it does. And what's really interesting there is how the lyrics manage this. This simple but incredibly catchy rhythm. You notice that structure, that ABB rhyme in the chorus.
And the phrases are short, punchy. It gives it this infectious quality, almost like a nursery rhyme, but, for adults. It practically demands this upbeat, danceable feel. And it's clearly just celebrating confidence, joy with the senorita as this sort of symbol of just carefree charm.
And it goes beyond just the chorus, right?
Yeah.
The verses really flesh her out with some pretty evocative images. You get lines like, with a spin and a twirl, she lights the night and she shines so bright. And then there's that bit about the sparkle in her eyes and in her soul, making the whole night whole.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any lines like that for you that particularly stood out in building her character?
That's a good question. I mean, lights the night is great imagery, quite common maybe. But that phrase, sparkle in her eyes and in her soul, that one caught my attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it sort of elevates her beyond just, looking good or being fun at a party. It suggests something deeper, more spiritually vibrant, almost gives her this magical aura that goes beyond the scene itself. She really becomes the absolute center of everything, bringing the energy, the charm.
Okay, so you have this vibrant picture, this almost magical quality. And then there's this one verse that kind of injects a bit more. Playfulness. A knowing wink, maybe. It goes, now the sun, it gets so hot. And her dress, it weighs quite a lot. So if there's no shady spot,
Yeah.
she might wear her dress or not.
Right. That line, the analysis we looked at definitely flags that one. It says it brings in this cheeky, kind of flirtatious vibe. And the clever part is really in the ambiguity, the or not.
Right. It just leaves it hanging.
Exactly. It lets your imagination do the work, doesn't it? Creates this sense of maybe playful boldness, but without actually spelling anything out. It stays within that sort of lighthearted escapist boundary while still hinting at something. Well, a bit daring.
Okay, so as we're looking at these lyrics, how they build the character, the tone, this is where it gets really interesting. Because this piece of history pops up, showing this song has a surprising backstory. It turns out these lyrics are actually a creative rewrite. They're based on a song by Bob Carwin called Margarita.
Yeah, that's the connection. And if you look at the bigger picture, Bob Carwin's Margarita, that's from his album Reinventing the Wheel back in 2017. His original song, it has a really similar feel, very laid back, beachy, celebrating that carefree sort of tropical lifestyle.
Okay.
So the rewrite, Senorita, Senorita, it absolutely keeps that playful, sunny spirit alive. Carwin's original song was nodding to the cocktail, the drink.
Right, the Margarita.
Exactly. But what's kind of remarkable is how easily that core feeling translates, even when you change the subject from a drink to a person.
And that really is the fascinating shift, isn't it? Carwin's song points to the drink, but this version, Senorita, Senorita, takes that whole mood, that vibe, and puts the focus squarely on the character of the Senorita. Suddenly, all those chorus lines are about her charm, her energy, her ability to cool down the sun becomes like her defining superpower. What do you think are the main, maybe, advantages or even disadvantages of shifting the focus like that, completely onto a character?
That's a really interesting point to consider. I think focusing on a character, the senorita, gives it a big advantage. She becomes an archetype,
Okay.
someone listeners can maybe connect with or imagine more easily than, an object like a cocktail, even a popular one.
Makes sense.
It potentially makes the song feel more emotionally relatable. The flip side, the disadvantage maybe,
Yeah.
perhaps you lose a little bit of that specific tangible imagery. The salt, the lime, the glass associated with a margarita.
Right, the concrete detail.
Yeah, but what you gain is arguably broader, a more universal symbol of fun, charisma, that isn't tied just to drinking or a specific time. It really shows the power of using character archetypes in songwriting.
And speaking of archetypes and broader themes, This brings up the whole genre influence question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because these themes, escapism, lightheartedness, they feel very much at home in trop rock music.
Exactly. Yeah, trop rock, which, it's distinct from just plain rock. It specifically blends rock, country, sometimes Caribbean sounds.
Steel pans, acoustic guitars,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Precisely. And the lyrics are often about escaping, beach life, just a carefree attitude. Jimmy Buffett is probably the most famous example people think of.
Sure.
And Bob Carwin himself, he's definitely a key figure in that genre. His album, Reinventing the Wheel, is noted for having that mix of humor and thoughtful lyrics, which he apparently developed performing around San Diego's beach scene. So the senorita character, with her sun-cooling power and just general carefree vibe, she fits perfectly. She almost becomes like a mascot for that whole trop rock feeling.
Wow. Okay, so pulling this all together, what does it really mean for us listening to this song? It shows how, creative adaptation isn't just swapping words around. It's about taking an existing feeling, that laid-back, beachy vibe, and giving it a totally new center. You create this new focal point, our senorita, but you keep the original spirit intact. It's actually fascinating how one character can end up embodying the whole mood of a genre like that. Makes you think about how adaptable musical themes can be.
It really does.
So yeah, this deep dive really shows how even a song that feels, pretty simple and fun on the surface can have all these interesting layers, creative history, connections. It makes you appreciate how music evolves through rewriting, reinterpreting.
Definitely.
So here's something for you to think about as you go about your day.
Yeah.
What does it really mean when a single character like this senorita becomes the living embodiment of a song's whole mood? Or even, as we saw, the spirit of an entire genre like trop rock? And maybe think about how a rewrite like this, shifting the focus. How does that change or maybe enhance the original message? What new doors does it open for telling stories through songs?